Coming up next on the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast.
You don't need to say anything. You just tell them what the new price is. And sure, go ahead and see how that goes, right? You don't need to explain your worth as a person.
From your first dollar to your first million, welcome to the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast, presented by ZenMaid. Join your host, Stephanie Pipkin, founder of Serene Clean, as she shares proven tips, tricks, and hard-earned lessons. Whether you're just starting out or ready to scale, get ready to discover how to build your own cleaning empire. Let's roll up our sleeves and dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast. I am your host, Stephanie from Serene Clean, and today is a beautiful, gloriously sunny Sunday here in Savannah. I just got back on Wednesday from a incredibly fabulous trip to Barcelona with the ZenMaid team. So big shout out to ZenMaid for bringing me out there. We had such a fun time, so many fantastic conversations related to improving the ZenMaid software as well as just contributing to the cleaning industry in general, which of course brings us to us here having this little convo. I wouldn't be here if ZenMaid was not highly interested in contributing to the industry in educational content. And obviously, we are here for you guys to make this cleaning business journey a little bit easier, a little less lonely. And I had one hell of a travel experience. Let me tell you, they lost my luggage both ways. And I was actually supposed to be back on Sunday, and I did not get back home until Wednesday. So if that tells you anything, I would highly recommend, if you are going to Europe, to just drive. I think that is clearly the logical solution here, is just drive. As an American, I think that driving is the proper thing to do regardless of distance. And obviously, I'm kidding. You can't drive across the ocean yet. But if I could, I would. And I am going up to Wisconsin in 2 weeks. I will be driving at this very moment in 2 weeks, actually, most likely, because it's about a 19 or 20 hour drive. Take Lily up with me, see the team. I will be cleaning my butt off. Yes, you guys, I will be cleaning every single day because turnover has been an absolute clusterfuck at Serene Clean lately. And that's not the topic of this episode. I'm going to wait a little bit to talk more about that. But pretty much since I started this podcast, that's been the reoccurring issue of we can't keep up with turnover, even with group interviewing, even with all of the great solutions we have, even with the company culture and the benefits and all of the fantastic fabulous prizes that we offer our employees. Even with all of that, we're still having a very difficult time keeping up with turnover. My managers are cleaning. Like I said, I'm going up there because Hannah, my kind of lead quality controller trainer, and she is the fill-in for call-outs. She's going to be on vacation that week. So I was like, let me go up there. I will be that fill-in so that we can handle the schedule. And yeah, it's just been quite the challenging time when it comes to keeping up with turnover. Our demand has been higher than ever. We're having so many leads come through and we cannot fulfill it. So if you guys have ever been in this place or are in this place, I'd like to say it gets better. But, and eventually it will get better. And, looking at all of the reasons people are leaving, parents are sick and in the hospital and they need to quit, or kid stuff or car stuff or all of these things, right? It's tough when it's something that you didn't contribute to, or it's just life things that happen. And those are the ones that are almost more frustrating because there's nothing you can do about that. There's no inner working that I need to do to make that better. There's no improvements to Serene Clean that we can do to make that better. So I almost like it when they're like, this part sucked and this is why I'm quitting, or XYZ. That's almost better because then at least we can take action, right? So really the only action we can do is just continually hire, keep doing what we can do, and just focusing on the actions that we can take. So that's kind of what's going on in Stephanie's life. I got this fabulous dress that's covered in red flamingos and light blue. If you are listening on Spotify, head on over to YouTube to see this beautiful dress I got in Barcelona. I did some fantastic shopping in Barcelona. And I just also recorded some really great podcast episodes while with the ZenMaid team. So those will be rolling out shortly. You guys will love it. And a lot of the conversations that I had over the past 2 weeks really have just sparked so much introspection in me, and going back and forth with ChatGPT, kind of just brain dumping, what kind of conversations I was having and how I think about them. And one of the ones that I wanted to talk about today, and I'm sure I'll make lots of podcast episodes that are kind of inspired by this trip and just different conversations that I've had. One of the ones that I want to talk about first is kind of the juxtaposition between needing to feel understood and being steadfast as well as proactive in explaining the why behind your actions and decisions. And there are several things that were talked about at the ZenMaid retreat that made me think about this. And one of my deepest human fears, I would say, as a person is I'm afraid of being misunderstood. I'm afraid of my actions being misconstrued or being put an ill intent behind my actions or my words or my behaviors when that is not what I intended. And I think big caveat here is just because we intend something, that doesn't change the impact on other people. That's been a big learning lesson for me in the past couple of years, that I oftentimes am very well intended, but that doesn't necessarily change that perhaps the impact of my decisions or words were hurtful or had negative consequences on others or on myself as well. So that is one aspect of this. But what I'm kind of talking about are two sides of the same coin of like, I'm afraid of being misunderstood by my employees, by my clients, by you guys, by strangers on the internet, by really everybody. And at the same time, part of being a good leader, or some of the things that have contributed to what I consider the leadership skill that I have or I continue to grow on, is being able to explain the why behind my decisions and then being confident in that and then just allowing people to interpret it as they would. And this is like a continual push and pull on this topic. And I know many of you most likely very much struggle with this as well. If you're coming from a tendency to people please, which a lot of us are when we are opening cleaning businesses, we have hearts for service, right? So that means that we care deeply about how we affect other people and what people think about what we're doing, how we act, our service, all of that stuff. Like, we care deeply, and that's a huge benefit. And honestly, like, people pleasing is one of the reasons Serene Clean was very successful in the early days. But I've had to evolve and get away from that in order for it to grow beyond what it was and for it to continually strive towards its potential as it is today. And despite all of the growth issues, turnover. All right, I'm just going to compartmentalize that so I stop thinking about it. So when it comes to, I want to be understood, but I also want to be able to make decisions confidently and like stand on business, if you will. So explaining the why behind our decisions has been kind of an integral part of how we behave as a leadership team at Serene Clean. And I think that comes from my desire to be understood. And so this is like the positive side of that desire, is that means I've always been very proactive with explaining the why behind what I'm doing, or a policy at Serene Clean, or a change that I am making. And I think that this is a really healthy way to deal with that kind of fear and insecurity, is just being really communicative proactively. And then by default, that kind of bleeds into the culture of Serene Clean, of our team members then understand that that is important as a part of our communication, is explaining the why or the thought process behind it. And it reminds me back when I was a bank teller. I don't know, I think I told you guys this like a long time ago, or maybe the first episode with my history, is that I was a teller at a local credit union while I was in college. I was also waitressing, and I hated bank telling. It was just handling other people's money while you're making $10 an hour like really sucks. Also, there was so much pressure to be very precise, and precision is not really Stephanie's forte. You know, I'm more of a big picture kind of gal. The details are like, meh. Who cares, right? I know it's important, but like, for example, I would be off, you know, like 5 cents here or there on a fairly regular basis in my drawer. And in my mind, like, that's doing pretty good. I mean, I'm handling thousands of dollars every day. I'm balancing my drawer every day. Basically, you need to have it match up to what it's supposed to be in the computer. And so for me, I was like, God, I'm really close, right? Like, I'm in the ballpark. What's the big deal? And I know that that's a not good mentality. We're talking about 20-year-old Stephanie here. And so I would just constantly be getting pulled aside and like being written up because my drawer would be off just a little bit. And that's kind of all beside the point. Basically, point being is I'm not a good bank teller. That is not my calling, nor should I ever be responsible for things like that. One. Number two, what I really liked about one of the management kind of tenets or philosophies at that credit union was if you made a mistake, as long as you can explain your thought process behind it or why you came to that conclusion, most likely they're just going to take it as a learning opportunity, unless it's like, I don't know, you robbed the bank and, you know, you can explain your thought process behind that, right? But this is more so like, hey, like I processed this thing in a wrong way and this is how I thought about this or whatever. And not only does that open up them to, oh, maybe we aren't explaining this correctly. If people are able to have this thought process and correctly argue the wrong thing, that teaches them. Two, it really puts you in that growth mindset and also analyzing your actions and not just like shooting from the hip. And I'm definitely a shoot from the hipper. Obviously ADHD, high impulsivity, do now, think later has kind of been, my mantra. And so it really helped kind of plant that little mustard seed of we need to think about things and we need to be able to explain our thought process. And so all the way from back there, I think that I kind of took that and applied that to Serene Clean. Additionally, the book Start With Why, I read that very on in my entrepreneurship journey. And that kind of applies to more so like, what is your purpose or why are you doing this thing from like a motivational standpoint and like making sure that you have strong reason for what you're doing. And so for us, like we want to make an impact. Like, why are we opening cleaning businesses? Like, what is our purpose and our reasoning behind all of that? And that's a very motivating thing. That was one side of that. And I'm kind of talking here of, can we explain to people why we are doing something so that they have buy-in and they are less likely to challenge it in a non-constructive manner. Quick break. If you run a cleaning business, this is for you. The MaidSummit 2025 is the go-to virtual event to elevate your systems, grow your team, and finally get out of the day-to-day. 20 plus speakers, real results, and absolutely zero cost to you. Register today at MaidSummit.com. Remember, it's free. Okay, now back to the video. Obviously, we all need to be open to our staff or our clients challenging us in a respectful manner. That's how we grow. That's how we see our blind spots and make better, well-rounded decisions. However, explaining the why proactively when you make a change or a decision does, it shows to them that you did think about that you are trying to see your blind spots, that you are trying to come at things from a really logical and good-natured place instead of just coming down with the hammer of like, because I said so, that's why. Right? Like, we all know that that is not a helpful narrative for children or for staff members. And oftentimes that breeds a ton of resentment and also makes them question your abilities as a leader. Because if the only reason that you are doing something or the only explanation that you can give is because I said so, well, then maybe you don't have the best decision-making ability, or maybe you are not very good at communicating your thoughts or reasoning, because I'm sure there is other reasons behind it, but we don't want to ever default on because I'm the boss and that's how it goes, right? Even if like that's legitimate because it is your business and because you are the boss, whatever you says, whatever he says goes. That is true. Is that helpful though? Is that a helpful way to be when you are trying to lead people and get people to buy in, to drink your flavor of Kool-Aid, as we like to say in the cult world, because that's what we're trying to do, is just have a bunch of happy cult members in our business and have them really, really buy in to you as a leader, into your business as a place to be and to hop on board your boat, right? So that's what we're trying to do. And every time we explain our why, that gives them more buy-in. And so I'll give you some like minor examples that have come up even in the past year. Like, for example, little one, right? We decided to switch mop buckets at Serene Clean. And you would have thought that we took our staff member's firstborn child For those of you of my staff that are listening right now, I'm sorry. Some of you really hate those mop buckets. I know you do. And I know you want us to change back to the old ways, and we're not going to because the floors get cleaner this way. So we had just had our kind of like single bucket mop buckets up until this year, right? 6 years in. And we really haven't had a ton of complaints on like floor cleanliness. I don't know if we've ever had anybody do the whole like wipe with a paper towel test or anything. I know a lot of you guys have dealt with that, and that's super obnoxious and annoying because to have a clean wipe on every house is going to be really challenging, especially if we're talking about grout and things like that that really hold on to dirt. That's more of like a deep clean, scrubby kind of situation. But I was trying to proactively prevent any observational complaints on our mopping. And what I mean by that is single mop bucket with water. We use self-wringing mops, and those are going to be the Libman Tornado mops. I know that everybody's got their opinions about mopping in cleaning businesses. Totally get that. The reason I really love the Libman Tornado and that I've used that since the beginning is because it is self-wringing, right? We can wring it out. It's very nice. I really like it. And so that's what we've used since day one. I know other people like the like little spinny one with the pedal. I don't like that one. Again, to each your own. This is what we like. This is what our staff likes. However, the singular mop bucket proves worse because you're dipping back and forth into dirty mop water, right? And so you're either going to be doing not the best mopping, one, or two, you're going to have to switch out the mop water all the time because you're just getting it dirty so much faster. And so I think I saw in one of the cleaning groups somebody using like a dual chambered mop bucket, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to try that. Basically, where you have one side is the clean water and one side is where you wring out the dirty water. And of course, that clean water is still going to get somewhat dirty because of you're going to have to dip back into it. But if you're wringing really tightly, getting all as much of the dirty water out as possible, and then going into your clean side, you'll at least get cleaner than what we were doing, right? We're making progress towards as clean as we can. And obviously, if any of you guys have a system that you swear by for mopping, leave it down in the comments below. Again, we don't really have like complaints come in on floors typically. It's usually more so around edges, and that's kind of like a vacuuming problem or a detail problem, not necessarily like, is the floor getting clean. However, I was just trying to get ahead of this and trying to improve our processes and, always looking at different aspects of the actual cleaning itself and like, how can we do that better? Anywho, all of that to be said, these were all of the reasons that I was like, we're switching to these dual chambered mop buckets, right? So that we can do a better job at cleaning. And really there shouldn't be that much of a difference, right? And so when we switched over this, we introduced this to our entire team and we explained all of this. And the reason they don't like it is the mop bucket is slightly bigger and they feel like it's like clunkier than what they're used to. I think that now that we've kind of like gotten used to it, everybody's good. We're seeing the results, that the floors are cleaner, all of that. But we would have had even more kickback if we just said, here's your new if I could speak. Here's your new mop bucket. This is what you're using from now on. Don't question us. Like if I had just said it like that or just said new mop bucket, this is what we're doing and didn't explain the why, you bet your ass we would have a lot more pushback on the decision, a lot more grumbling and a lot more people just refusing to do it, right? And now we have to like discipline because they're not using the right mop bucket. We did have to compensate some mop bucket. Why can't I say that phrase, guys? Why is this so hard? Mop buckets. We did have to confiscate some of the older mop buckets. You know who you are. We had to pry them from your cold, dead hands. But overarchingly, from across the board, the team, they had buy-in because we explained ourselves. So that is one example. So many examples when it comes to the clients. And this is where I think we sometimes go overboard, and this is where that fear of being misunderstood, or it also can be a lack of confidence in your decisions or feeling insecure about your decisions. And the biggest example, of course, is going to be price increases. I see this so many times in the cleaning groups that people are like, this is my price increase letter. This is what I'm going to say. And you are writing a dissertation on why you are increasing the prices. And I'm not saying that it needs to be, this is your new price, effective next cleaning, you're at this price. Boom, that's it. I wouldn't suggest that. Some folks would. I would not suggest that. But I also would not suggest weaving a yarn a mile long about why you are increasing prices due to XYZ and ABC and all of these things, and over explaining yourself, because then it really reads that you either are very defensive or that you are not confident that you deserve the price increase. So we really want to be in that happy medium of explaining why. And for us, we always tie it back to our staff members, meaning and what that provides the client, and that this is actually a benefit to the client that we are increasing prices. So use it like this is like a total, like using the psychology of it all. This is why you need to pay me more. It's now, this is why you should want to pay me more. And it all comes down to consistency in cleaning and paying our cleaners a fair wage in a very competitive job market, and that our clients really want to have consistency with the same cleaner as much as possible. And the only way we can do that is to pay them more and to give them more benefits. And so ergo, that comes from price increases. What we did in our last price increase is what we listed out the additional benefits that we had added since their previous price increase, which for most of our clients was 2 years. So we had added a ton of benefits. We had increased the wages drastically. We increased the gas stipends and all of those things. We explained the different fun things that we do, as well as giving to the community, and that is something that has been a core tenet of us since the beginning. And so I'm saying that all like very long. It really wasn't that long. This is where obviously ChatGPT comes in super handy, of being like, I want to explain this in a confident, succinct manner that will make our clients understand and feel happy to pay a higher price, right? So that's how we're coming at a price increase. Again, it's not just new price effective next Monday, boom. It's this is why we're doing this. We're very confident that this is the right move for you and for us as a team, and these are the very succinct reasons why. And so that comes from a place of confidence, not over explaining because we are questioning ourselves, because most of us are probably questioning ourselves when we are doing price increases. Or a lot of times when we're like, we are posting in the groups of, how do I go about this price increase, or how do I explain it to clients? A lot of people will be like, you don't need to explain your worth. You don't need to say anything. You just tell them what the new price is. And sure, go ahead and see how that goes, right? You don't need to explain your worth as a person. Absolutely not. We're all worthy individuals. We don't need to explain that. But as a business entity that is servicing homes, yeah, we do need to explain our worth a little bit. We need to explain our reasoning. And this is where the proactiveness of it all comes together, so that if our client says, I disagree, especially in the way we phrase it, so you're disagreeing with that our cleaners deserve higher wages, or that our cleaners deserve better benefits, or that our community deserves to be donated to in a variety of ways, that makes them feel bad. And because our clients do not want the cognitive dissonance that would incur in them, aka, ooh, I disagree with all these things, therefore I'm a shitty person. Our clients are never going to say that. It's more so going to be like, does that fit in our budget? They're not going to argue with the why. It's more logistics of like, does this continue to work for them? Do we need to adjust? Do we need to go to a lesser frequency? Or do we need to reduce the number of hours, number of rooms? Something we can pull a bunch of levers to still be within their budget. Or maybe they're like, cool, extra $20 a month. We can do that. No problem. And so I found that this method works really, really well, of this proactive explanation, explaining why, but being in a state of confidence. And it really shows that you've thought about this. And that's really what I want this whole episode to be, is I don't want you to overthink. I want you to think about decisions that you are about to make enough that you can stand on business. You can explain it in a really confident, positive manner, and that if somebody disagrees, it doesn't make you go into a spiral tailspin of over-explaining, which I know for myself, that is absolutely a trait of me. I am hypersensitive to criticism. I am very rejection sensitive. So if I feel like somebody is rejecting me or what I think or does not understand me, as I said, I will go into over-explanation mode. And that comes from so many things that we don't have time for. Well, this isn't a therapy session. It's a podcast episode, Stephanie. And so I'm trying to be really cognizant of that, of like, how can I explain my intentions, that I have good intentions, my thought process and the reasons behind why this is going to benefit the person that I'm talking to, right? And so whether that be your clients, whether that be your cleaners, whether that be a partner, whether that be the community at large, you need to be able to proactively explain yourself, come across in a confident manner, and not go into a tailspin when people disagree with you. And also just know that some people are going to misinterpret intentionally. And I just had a conversation with Amanda Stovall, and that episode was amazing. We kind of touched on this of like, why do we care about the opinions of people who are intentionally trying to misconstrue what we are saying or intentionally putting a bad spin on this? And this is where I've had this happen both with clients and employees, where they have absolutely taken something that is either neutral or positive that I am doing, and they are putting this really negative spin on it. So it makes me look like I'm a bad person or that I make bad decisions. And I'm not saying I don't make bad decisions. I've made so many bad decisions. But I like to think that I am a good person who learns from her mistakes, or that at least feels a lot of shame when I do make mistakes, especially when they negatively impact other people. And so it's really hard to bite your tongue and not go into self-righteousness and into defensive mode when people misconstrue what we are intending. And this, a lot of this can come from the proactive explanation, but then you just need to be able to stop, right? Because some people are intent on misunderstanding you, are intent on spinning you as a bad person. And I've had this happen. Gosh, the one employee that we had to fire last month, that's exactly what it was. She was literally just going off about, that we're terrible employers and we're trying to hold back her from getting unemployment. And she was still an employee. She hadn't even, attempted to get unemployment. And then all of these things, she really wanted to paint it in one way, because it's way easier to play the victim and to make people feel bad for you if you can control the narrative of what the other person has intended, or that they are a bad person. And so when you guys, who are great people, I think most of you are, I've met a lot of you and you're fantastic people and you have good intentions. I know how badly it wounds when people try to paint you as the villain. And at the end of the day in our business, we have to be okay with being the villain in a lot of people's stories. I know I am. God, I feel like I'm like one of those like Facebook posts that you see girls post when like they're having like marital issues and they're being really cryptic. Like, you have to be okay with being the victim in somebody else's story. If I'm calling you out right now, I'm sorry. I just think that's really funny when people post things like that, and I try not to. So, but it's true. Either way, it's all true. We have to be okay with that, especially as business owners. You are going to be misunderstood. And even for me in this podcast, like sometimes we'll make clips out of my content. And obviously that's like, 1 minute of a 30-minute conversation, and it's snipped like this. And then it's posted on social media, and somebody who's not in the cleaning industry sees that, or somebody who doesn't have the full context of the conversation sees it, and they comment on it, and like, that bothers me. And I like that literally bothers me. That just happened yesterday, where somebody commented on, like, I think it was a reel on how we share when somebody is let go, we share with the rest of the team the reasons why. Again, coming back to why. And there's so many reasons for that, because I respect my team so much. They're going to hear from the horse's mouth exactly what happened. And that is not in a gossipy way. That is so that we are all clear, and that there's like, it's not like, oh, you can be here one day and you can get fired the next and there's no reason. Like that creates a lot of job insecurity. I think it's really important to say like, hey, these are the standards. Lots of conversations were had, and this is the choices that they made that caused this to occur, right? And these were the consequences of these choices. And so I think that that's that is a highly respectable way to communicate with your team of like, we're adults here. We're grown-ups. Like, I'm not just this like omnipotent leader who I'm just going to smite thee and tell you when you stop working. Like, it's not like that. And so I think it's really important that you don't leave those things up to mystery. And the comment said something along the lines of like, oh, like, I think you're doing that so wrong. Like, you're naming and shaming, like, how disrespectful of you, blah, blah, blah. And like, it's that triggered me for sure of like, I want to explain, I'm being misunderstood. Like, especially because I have such good intentions with this of like, this is about respect and communication and radical candor, another great book, like radical candor as to what is happening in our workplace. And so to be like misunderstood so completely is really triggering to me. And I just want to like hop on and be like, no, you don't understand. Like, that's not what I mean at all. Blah, 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 blah. That's my brain. As soon as I see something like that, that's my brain going. But let me know if you can relate to that at all. If you guys feel that same sense of like, oh, tightening and just like, I need to explain myself. You don't understand. So if you feel that way, definitely let me know in the comments. Make me feel better that I'm not alone in this. And so there was a lot of conversations that I had at the retreat in Barcelona that just really, like kind of brought up these ponderings in my mind of like, how do I circumvent this feeling? And also just like the acceptance of being okay to be misunderstood. And especially when you're putting yourself out there, guys, you're business owners, you're putting yourself out there. You are bringing in people with wildly different backgrounds and experiences than you. And you're trying to lead them. And that means that things are going to be misunderstood, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And all we can do is put our best foot forward, really hone in on the values that we have and how can we live by them and act about them in our businesses and in our day-to-day lives, right? So that's all we can do. All we can do is also apologize. We can explain ourselves, but we can be confident in that and say, this was what my intention was. I'm so sorry that I hurt you. I know that was impact or whatever the thing is. And then reflect on that. And if we need to change a policy, if we need to change how we explain things, maybe in the estimating process, right? Like, that's why we attach our cleaning checklist to the estimate from the get-go, because we are trying to proactively explain what they can expect from us. So if they complain later, it's like, because we didn't, as I always say, clean the gutters, we didn't paint the walls, we didn't shovel the snow. Well, we can be like, well, we explained, this was the expectation, and I don't need to over explain anything because this is on them they had the information available and they chose not to use that information. They're choosing to be upset about something, and that allows us to be in a lot more calm headspace. So, there's so many aspects of our business that can be affected by this concept. And so how can we proactively set forth expectations, set forth the reasons behind things as eloquently and as succinctly as possible. Do not over-explain. How can we do these things? And it'll really set ourselves up for success down the road so that if somebody misunderstands, it's not because we didn't explain the why, right? Or if they get pissed at us, but we can know that it's okay that people are upset with us sometimes, and that's going to happen when you own a business or when you just, be a human. That happens too. This is just part of life. So hopefully this was interesting, guys. It's kind of a little like floofy, I know, but it was just on my mind. I thought I would share where I'm at, and I am going to keep working on my MaidSummit presentation. It's due on Tuesday. It's Sunday. Just, doing Stephanie things. I can't, without the sense of urgency, I can't do it, right? I can't, it'll be way more fire if I just wait till the last minute. I just know myself. So if you guys have not registered for the MaidSummit, it's totally free, guys. I think we have 27 speakers, I believe, this year on a variety of different topics. And those will be going live in September, but you should go register today. We'll link it down and below if you have not done so far. Mine is going to be all about our training system and how we have accomplished like such high quality standards as well as such a low complaint rate. We went, I think, 11 weeks without a single complaint, and that is thousands of appointments. And so I'm going to be going over our training program to show you guys how we are able to do that. So if you're interested in that, go register to my talk today. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and leave a comment below on anything you want. I don't really care what it is. Maybe put a little flamingo emoji. Show me that you listened the whole way. Add a flamingo down below. And I'll see you guys next time on Filthy Rich Cleaners. Bye.